Novak Djokovic does come in and he wins his round of 16 matchup at Shanghai over Juan Munar. 6-3, 5-7, 6-2 in about 3 sets. It went a little bit later into the night. But the main story from this match, of course, is the fact that Djokovic was physically impaired. You could tell that the heat and humidity in China right now is really getting to him. It didn't seem like it was that hot in China at the moment. It was about 80 degrees, maybe 27 degrees Celsius-ish. So not super hot in terms of the hottest conditions that you may see on tour. However, it's the staggering humidity that you may see in Shanghai at this particular time of year that is having a huge issue for many players around the world right now. You could see Yannick cramped and he's out of the draw. I'll get to that later, but I don't think that was just because of the heat, even though I do think that played a factor. It seemed like he couldn't walk and move anymore. We'll definitely see more retirements towards the end of the ATP Tour schedule as, just more matches, more traveling, more everything just catches up onto the guys, and a lot of them play their worst tennis later in the year. We saw Alcaraz be a victim of that last year. We're kind of seeing Yannick be a victim of that now, retiring in Cincinnati, retiring at Shanghai, winning China and making it to the final of the U.S., but not even being that great at the U.S. Open. Maybe that's playing an effect on him, even though he didn't play much earlier in the year. But Alcaraz definitely had that issue last year. Novak's definitely had that issue in the past last year as well, with him only making it to the third round of the U.S. Open in 2024. But regardless, he does pull through. He was puking during the middle of the game. At one point, he has to say, "Sorry, bro, I have to clean my throw up off of the ground," because it was that bad and it was affecting him that much. When he hit a forehand that went wide to lose the second set 5-7, he collapsed onto the floor like somebody does when they win a slam, but in the opposite direction. Like, that's what he looked like. He looked like he was completely out of it. But you never bet against Novak Djokovic. One of the best things I've heard about Novak and his improvement with his physical ability is that at the beginning of his career, he was the type of player who you wanted these long matchups again. You wanted it to go 4 or 5 sets in a slam. You wanted it to go 3 sets, multiple tie breaks, a bunch of ad points, etc. in best of 3 matches, because his physicality was a huge concern. Novak Djokovic, for as great as he is, has retired from 11 different matches in his career. That is a lot more than Nadal. Federer had none during his career. I don't know if Alcaraz has retired yet in his career. Yannick's already retired twice in the last 3 months, or 2 months or so. So hope he gets better overall there. But that's one of the things about him where it was kind of a concern. But then from 2011 on, he just became the best player in the world and maybe the best player we've ever seen. So it's very interesting how he turned his biggest weakness into maybe his biggest strength. So now he wants the long matches. He wants the 4 or 5 set matches. He's only lost 1 match in his career when he was up 2-0, and that was in 2009. So you figure at slams, once he wins 2 sets, you're going to lose. It's over. And at these tournaments, if he wins the first set, I believe he's 25-0 this year when he wins the first set, but he's only 8-10 or something like that when he loses the first set. Basically meaning that first set is almost definitive into how that match is going to go. In the second round matchup against, who's his name? Jan Hoffmann, the German guy. He did lose the first set, but was able to win the matchup, clutch performances by Novak. But the main story from all of this is the simple fact that now Djokovic is the clear-cut favorite to win Shanghai. And he should absolutely win Shanghai, and if he doesn't, it would be a travesty. No Yannick Sinner, he pulled out. Carlos Alcaraz didn't even show up to this tournament. He pulled out. Fritz is out. Alexander Zverev, the crybaby, is out. That's what I'm going to call him now after the BS that he said earlier. But those 4 guys, the other 4 top 5 players in the world, are out. You are the only top 5 player left in Shanghai. Everybody else is out. You are significantly better than a lot of these other guys in the draw. There is Holger Rune, and Daniil Medvedev is still in the draw. Let me see, who did Medvedev beat? Yeah, Medvedev beat Davidovich. He is playing against Lerner Tien tomorrow morning, or I guess tonight if you're in China. And Lerner Tien has had his number at 2 different slams. So that's going to be interesting to see if those nerves creep up once again. But Medvedev is in it. Some other really good players are in it. But Novak is hands down, clearly the top guy to beat in this tournament. And this could potentially be Novak's last chance to win a big title, to win a 1,000 in his career. And it's by far his best chance. He had a very good chance in Miami, and he probably should have won in Miami. And he's going to be mad at himself that he didn't win. But this tournament right now, with none of the big guns being in your way, this is by far the best chance that you have to win another big tournament in your career, quite frankly. Because I know the number one thing Novak wants is to win one more slam. He wants to win just one more slam, solidify his career with 25, a quarter century, because technically Margaret Court has won 24 slams, even though that is the biggest asterisk you'll ever read because it wasn't even the open era for a lot of them, and it was just so long ago, and it's on the women's side. It's completely different. Serena's 23 is more impressive than Margaret Court's 24, but regardless, 25 single slams will put you in a solo category that no other person, male or female, has ever touched in their career in singles. And I think he really wants one more slam, but I think he also does want one more 1,000. He wants another trophy to add to that resume. He does have 40 Masters, a nice round number, but I think he just wants to get just one more of the big titles, and that would be a great solidifier of his career. One more big title, hopefully one more slam. And after that, he's not really playing for anything. You could see that Novak doesn't prioritize a lot of tournaments that he should. He didn't play in Cincinnati. He didn't play in Canada. Everyone skipped Canada, but he didn't play in either of those. I'm not even certain if he'll play in Paris. He'll probably skip out on the Paris Masters. He'll play in Athens because his family owns the tournament. And he might skip out on the ATP Finals. Athens is the week before the ATP Finals. I think he'll skip out on it. Even though the ATP Finals is the most lucrative and the highest points gathering thing, except for the slams, of anything we have on tour. You know, he'll play in Six Kings because there's so much money at Six Kings, it's kind of ridiculous. But after that, I think he'll probably skip out on Paris and the ATP Finals, showing that for Novak, it's no longer about money because he's made tons of money and will continue to. It's no longer about ranking points. I don't think he cares. It's just about doing what he wants to do with the rest of his career. I think Shanghai, China is a huge goal of his in his career, for sure. He's had a love affair with China. The Chinese people really respect him. He even knows some Mandarin. He even does some respectful things like constantly wears red, the national Chinese color, during the Shanghai Masters and the China Open when he used to play in Beijing. And I think that's something he really wants. There's a reason why, even after all the injuries that he went through last year, post-US Open, he still said, I'm going to play at the Shanghai Masters, and he did do that. So I think he has a love affair with China, and it'll be very important for him to win. This is his best opportunity to win. And if Novak doesn't win this tournament, it is a grave disappointment considering all the big names that had to pull out or lost in this tournament as well. So good luck, Novak. You played really well to battle through against Munar, but this tournament is in your hands, and you should be the clear favorite to win it.